CBS 7 News presents Mass Shooting in Odessa, a special report.
Thank you for joining us for a special edition of CBS 7 News tonight. I'm Jay Hendricks.
Yeah, and I'm Shelby Landgraf. This is a special tribute where we will both honor those 7 victims shot dead, the 25 others injured, at least half of them still remaining in the hospital right now, along with our West Texas community that continues to grieve, yet still come together after the mass shooting attack.
Saturday's mass shooting took the lives of 7 people and injured 25 others. The
victims killed range in age from just 15 years old to 57. All of them Texans, 5 of them from Odessa. 15-year-old Layla Hernandez was with her family picking on a pickup truck for her 18-year-old brother when she was killed Saturday afternoon. Layla was a student at Odessa High School and played on the girls' basketball team. She had just celebrated her quinceañera back in May. Layla's friends remember her as a sweet soul.
You always saw her smiling. Like, there's never a day where you don't see her smiling. Like, her smile catches everybody's attention. I still can't believe, this is, I think it's still a dream.
Layla's brother, 18-year-old Nathan Hernandez, was also shot that day. According to his family's GoFundMe page, he is in recovery and doing therapy, but has a long road ahead. 29-year-old Mary Granados of Odessa was a mail carrier and was on the job when she was shot and killed. The U.S. Postal Service said in a statement, they were shocked in, quote, grieving the loss of our postal family member, end quote. Mary had a twin sister, Rosie, who was on the phone with her when she was shot.
I think that he could have taken the car without having to kill her, he could have taken the car, that's it. That's all he needed. He didn't have to take my sister.
U.S. Army veteran Cameron Brown of Brownwood was shot and killed in his truck Saturday. He served in Afghanistan and most recently worked at Standard Safety and Supply, an oil field services company in Odessa. Cameron leaves behind his mother, his brother, a sister, as well as a large extended family and many friends at work.
40-year-old Joe Griffith was killed while sitting at a traffic light with his family. Joe worked 6 days a week to support his family. He was known as a loving family man and will be remembered for his sense of humor and his uncanny ability to impersonate people. His sister spoke out to CNN in an emotional interview.
The one thing I just can't express enough is that I do not want people to forget about my brother. We see this kind of thing all the time on the television, self-included. We watch the TV and we see family members of people who've been slain through gun violence. And we watch and we take a moment, hopefully, and we have a moment of silence. Maybe if you're prayerful, you say a prayer for the family. Maybe even shed a tear. But then you go to bed and you start your day and you go to work and you feed your children. You check your mail, you feed the dog, you do all the things because we have to, right? The world doesn't stop turning.
West Texas will remember the victims. 25-year-old Edwin Peregrino was gunned down in the yard of his parents' home in central Odessa. He had just moved to San Antonio, but was back in Odessa visiting his parents for the weekend. He's remembered as a man who loved his family and loved to travel.
Family describes 57-year-old Rodolfo Arco, known as Rudy, as a loving father, grandfather, and godly man. He was originally from Cuba, immigrated to the United States to live the American dream, ultimately starting his own trucking company in Odessa. He was driving home from work when the gunman opened fire. His widow pleaded and is pleading with lawmakers to make action.
It's unfair. The Congress, somebody needs to do something fast before another victim, another family, another kids without a dad. That's uncalled for. Please do something.
35-year-old Raul Garcia was a commercial truck driver from El Paso. He was shot and killed along Interstate 20 while he was behind the wheel. Raul leaves behind his wife, 4 children, along with his mother, brothers, and sisters as well. In addition to those 7 innocent people killed and shot dead, Odessa police say 25 others were shot or hit with shrapnel in the mass shooting.
Here is a full list of those 25 people injured. Of those more than 24 injured, 3 were law enforcement officers, all shot while on duty.
A Texas DPS trooper was the first person shot. The gunman shot him in the face. Here's a listen to that first emergency call about the trooper injured.
Let's call a trooper down there. Needing assistance, shots fired.
Do we have an active shooter?
No, negative. The shooter's left head in a vehicle. It's Toyota, westbound on I-20.
10-4. What is the status of the trooper? They're working on the trooper right now. We have TAPB on scene. He is talking and responsive. They're going to transport. Shooter is in a Toyota, headed westbound towards Odessa.
That DPS trooper shot is Chuck Pryor. He was shot in the face after he pulled the gunman over for a traffic violation along Interstate 20 in Midland County. Trooper Pryor remains in the hospital right now. According to the GoFundMe page set up to help him, he is in serious but stable condition.
Odessa policeman Corporal James Santana was hit, also responding to the mass shooting. According to his GoFundMe page, he was hit with bullet fragments. He was released from the hospital to cheers from fellow officers and supporters on Tuesday. Midland Police Officer Zach Owens also receiving a hero's welcome as he was released from the hospital. He was released yesterday morning from MCH. He was hit in the face, in the arm, and the hand. According to Midland Police, he's now meeting with a specialist in Alabama who will be evaluating his eye and hopefully perform corrective surgeries. The youngest survivor of the shooting rampage, a 17-month-old little girl, was miraculously released from the hospital just 24 hours after the shooting. I sat down with the toddler's parents who recounted the horrifying moments of Saturday afternoon, but also were still able to share their gratitude.
Probably the number one thing people will tell you is that she's smiley and happy.
At almost a year and a half old, hopefully Anderson will have no lasting memories of Saturday's shooting rampage.
It really happened so fast. I didn't know which direction they were coming from, what was really going on.
I knew that we had been shot, but it never dawned on me that one of us would be hit. So I actually just thought, how can I cover both of these babies at one time?
Anderson and her twin brother were strapped into their car seats for a normal trip to the grocery store when a gunshot hit their SUV at this intersection.
Within seconds, I looked at Anderson and she was just covered in blood, so much blood. I mean, you couldn't even see her face.
Anderson was hit in the mouth and in the chest. As Kelby and Garrett Davis were screaming for help, off-duty paramedics rushed in.
Angels are everywhere. Some men are in my window and they're saying, "Kelby, it's me. Kelby, it's me."
Paramedics and all the first responders, their training is just absolutely amazing. They are truly the calm in the midst of the storm.
Quickly, Anderson was air-flighted to a Lubbock hospital for emergency treatment. She's since been released and is now back home in Odessa.
I'm so grateful Anderson is here. I'm so thankful that we're not one of those families that's on the other side of this, and it makes you feel guilty almost. That's how I just have to remind myself that God does not cause tragedies like this, but God's gonna walk through all of us.
It's the Davises' strong Christian faith and their love for their hometown of Odessa that's carrying them through.
That's why we're proud of this town and the people in it, because they rally and they come together, and bad things are going to happen no matter where you live. But we know that here, this is our home and this is where our support system is, and it's made all the difference in this situation.
Coy Edge was another man shot in the shooting spree. He is expected to make a full recovery, but just hours after the shooting, his friend Mike Barnett was at the hospital and he was worried for his friend.
Explain, you know, he found me dead laying on the floor February the 18th, and if it wasn't for him doing CPR on me, I would have died. But he saved my life, and I want God to do the same thing. Please help save his life, and everybody pray for him. His name is Coy Edge. You know, he's been here for his whole life, you know. It's just unreal that it's happened in our town. All I know is that they were on their way home, him and his wife, and he got shot. I guess it went through the door of the car and shot him right in his side. And my shop foreman is in there right now, and he said his wife was just covered in blood. But he had made it to the hospital still talking and breathing. It was way out there at Mission Dorado in that area, you know, when it happened, I guess.
Wow.
It's dropped to my knees and put my head on the floor, and I started praying like you wouldn't believe, saying, this can't happen to him. He saved my life. I'd trade my life any day for his. I would. First thing that went through my mind, I couldn't believe it, And he told me again, and I still, what? And then the third time is when I just fell to my knees, because it's just unreal. I've never known anybody that's been shot in my life, especially this man that saved my life. I don't know what else to say.
We spoke to another Odessa man who was shot in the legs as he sat in his car. He came face to face with the gunman.
Mark Gonzalez is still in a lot of pain, but lucky to be alive.
At this point in time, I'm still kind of shocked, still kind of thinking about it, why, what was the reason, and even why me.
For all we know, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Gonzalez tells me he was coming back to his workplace, waiting at a red light on Loop 338. He noticed a driver pull up next to him and roll his passenger window down, but didn't think much of it until something slammed into his door.
As soon as I turned back around, I felt an impact. At first I thought someone had wrecked against my van. That's what I really thought the first time, because it sounded like if someone hit me.
2 bullets pierced the car and dug into his left leg. Gonzalez felt the pain surging through his leg, but didn't understand what was happening until he found himself looking down the barrel of a rifle.
Whenever I turned back around, when I got the gunshots and I turned back around and I looked at him, he was just looking straight at me and pointing the AK at me.
Gonzalez then sped away down this street as the shooter fired at him yet again, this time hitting his right leg. Before he escaped, Gonzalez says he looked back at the gunman. What he saw in his eyes was pure evil.
I just took a look at him a few seconds, split seconds, but that's the main thing was that I saw in his eyes, he, that hate, that he was trying to do something, not just injure me, but I know he was trying to take me out.
But he didn't. While Gonzalez's aching wounds will take time to heal, he made it out with his life.
Now, some of the victims were treated at Medical Center Hospital and Odessa Regional Medical Center. Meanwhile, at Midland Memorial Hospital, we had the chance to speak to a commercial truck driver from Austin who was shot while he was behind the wheel in Midland.
I saw when the car sped up. I said to myself, that was the guy that shot me.
Efe, a truck driver from Austin, says he never thought in a million years he'd be here.
When stuff like this happen, I just say to myself, oh, another shooting again. It becomes a normal thing, like a normal thing.
One of the 22 injured in a shooting rampage that rocked Midland, Odessa Saturday.
I didn't even know where the bullet was coming from. It would just randomly just pop, 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 pop.
The bullet ripped through his hand, arm, and chest, a piece of shrapnel still lodged in his lungs.
I don't know why people would just pick up a gun and randomly kill people.
The only thing he says that kept him alive was the thought of his wife and children.
I kept my calm, thinking about my kids and wife, just kept my calm.
The mass shooting ended with a shootout with authorities by Synergy in Odessa as authorities shot the gunman dead. As that was going on, the Synergy Cinema and Entertainment Center was evacuated with many running for their lives. This is what it looked like as so many ran out of the theaters. You can see many people dropping to the ground, fearing for their lives, while others recorded it all on their cell phone. Many were told, they said, to get on the ground, and that is when they heard gunfire.
And you hear kids crying, obviously panic attacks, people are crying, not knowing what to do because these are gunshots that we've heard happen all the other times in other places here in the United States. And it's something that scares us. It's very scary, very, very scary to be going through.
Baeza says then they were told to run back into the theater. You can see that chaotic scene happening here. He caught it all on his cell phone.
Shauna Saxton is an Odessa woman who was driving with her family on the Labor Day weekend when she says she locked eyes with the shooter while he was being chased. Here is part of her raw, emotional interview she gave just hours after this rampage ended.
I looked over my shoulder to left, and the gold car pulled up, and the man was there, and he had a very large gun, and it was pointing at me. I started yelling at my husband. I was yelling at him, but I was just like, there's a gun, he's got a gun, there's a gun. And that's when it hit me what those sounds were. And then he was looking at me. I saw his face. I saw that weapon, and the only thing I could think about was my little grandson in the back seat. I just thought, oh my God, what if something happened to him?
Even if you aren't personally connected to one of the victims or the survivors, many are still left feeling that they were robbed of their safety on that Saturday when the mass shooting happened in West Texas. Many agencies are now offering free counseling and help to those in need, as this was such a traumatic situation. There's a family assistance center set up right now at the Ector County Annex on 8th Street. It's open daily from 9 until 6. There's a number of services that'll be provided there, from grief counseling to emotional support to assistance filing for state funds to help with medical bills or counseling bills or other assistance for victims, families, and survivors.
We should also mention UT Permian Basin and their counseling group has also made their facilities available. If you need assistance or feel like you need to talk to somebody, you can call the school. They will get you connected.
Yeah, you can always reach out for help. We also have a list of other free helplines and hotlines that you can call if you're ever in need of help or need someone to talk to. Those are listed on our website, cbs7.com. Now, as this mass shooting was happening on Saturday afternoon, there was a scare and a threat here at Music City Mall, where CBS 7 studios are located. That created quite the chaotic scene as we were on air delivering you the breaking news and trying to keep you and your family safe. Take a listen.
We're just seeing people running through the mall right now.
There's something going on over here.
We're not sure what's going on. There are people running through the mall.
Jay, we probably need to go.
We can see this?
Jay, we probably need to get off the air.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's wrong?
You want to get them off the air?
Okay,
Yes.
We're going to have to, there's something, people running through the mall. We're not sure why.
Let's
we need
get
to see
going.
what this is.
Come on, everybody.
Are we going to go back to programming?
No.
Okay, we're going to leave the setup. We're going to slip away just for a minute. We don't know what's going on. People running through the mall, so we need to see what this is.
I know it's been overwhelming for you to hear, Jay. So many people complimenting you on your grace and your composure. You've been doing this for 40 years. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
No, and I tell you, it was a weird scene because if you're here in our studio, you can see there's a small portion of the window looking out into the mall, and to see people running, and I mean they were dropping things and they were running out of their shoes, and you could just see the panic in their faces, and you don't know what's going on. Matthew went out and he was telling everybody to go, and of course, being a TV person, you're on the air. You don't want to leave the set. You never leave the set empty, and so that's why it took me a while to get off, because I didn't know where we were going, what we were going to do. We did at some point turn the mics up, although we were off, and we could at least keep you up to date as to what was going on. But I have never seen anything like that. Don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I hope we never experience anything like that again. There were also chaotic scenes all around town across Odessa and Midland County. We saw so many viewer videos pour into our newsroom. You can see some of those here. This was at Synergy when people were evacuated, asked to lay down on the ground as shots were fired. You could see bullets in vehicles across town. This is from a scene near 42nd Street and JBS Parkway. You can see an ambulance taking a survivor, hopefully a survivor, not a victim, away. It was such a chaotic scene across Odessa as the gunman drove around Odessa from Midland County. This is a look inside the mall as there was fear that maybe the shooter had made his way here. Ultimately, the gunman was identified as 36-year-old, we will say his name only once, 36-year-old Sept Ator.
He had a registered address in Ector County. According to affiliates, Ator was let go from his job at an Odessa company in the morning of the shooting, although law enforcement says that doesn't appear to be the motive behind the shooting.
Over the course of this week, officials have raided several different places connected to the gunman. His last known home was here in West Odessa. It was raided Sunday. FBI officials say the condition of his home, quote, reflected his mental condition. They then raided his workplace in Odessa that was said to be Journey Services. But that registered address, according to property tax rules, was actually another entity. You could see the last video that you looked at was ATF agents raiding a home in Lubbock. It was near the Lubbock Country Club, that going down last night. Now, we have not received any other update from that scene. We just know that, as you could see, ATF agents looking at that home in connection to how the gunman was able to obtain that AR-15 that he was said to use in the crime. ATF is the lead investigation as to how the gunman was able to get his hands on that firearm.
After leading law enforcement through 2 counties and throughout the cities of Midland and Odessa.
The horror finally came to an end when law enforcement came face to face with the shooter, ultimately killing him behind the Synergy Theater in Odessa.
After being an active crime scene for days, Synergy Theater was finally able to open its doors back up yesterday. And when they did, they made sure to do their part to try and get help to the community and get them back to normal.
A small way of us saying thank you for those men and women who run toward danger and not away from danger. And you know, those guys keep us safe every day, and they do stuff behind the scenes that we never even see. And we are just so appreciative of that fact.
Less than 24 hours after the shooting, the community came together on the campus of UT Permian Basin for a community gathering of prayer, a candlelight vigil, and to come together to remember the victims' loss and also to lift up the survivors that continue to recover. Both the Midland mayor was there, the Odessa mayor was there, state officials were there, all gathering together in the name of healing, in the name of support after the horrible mass shooting.
Strong, hold one another, love one another, and treat everybody as your neighbor. God bless Odessa, God bless Midland, God bless Permian Basin, God bless Texas, and God bless the United States of America.
And these crosses, one for each of the victims, stand as a memorial to those that were lost that day. Flowers, in fact, lay in memory of those 7 people. It has become the central memorial for the tragedy in downtown Odessa. Meanwhile, nationwide, people stood with West Texans. On Tuesday of this week, the New York Stock Exchange observed a moment of silence after ringing of the bell.
Final services for the 7 victims began today with 3 public viewings and visitation. The first funeral will be for the youngest victim, 15-year-old Layla Hernandez. A funeral mass will be held for her tomorrow at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Catholic Church at 11 o'clock. The burial will immediately follow at the American Heritage Cemetery. Her family has invited us to broadcast her funeral live here on CBS 7 and also on Telemundo. There will be a Spanish translation provided so that the community can grieve the loss of this young life and also celebrate her if you're not able to attend her funeral. The funeral for Edwin Peregrino will follow that afternoon at 1 o'clock on Friday. If you're looking for ways to help, there have been a number of verified GoFundMe accounts that GoFundMe has verified. This is a live look at those accounts. This is a central hub that we are linked to on our website, cbs7.com. You can see that these GoFundMe pages are set up for some of the survivors, from the youngest survivor, that 17-month-old little girl, to the officers who continue to recover, to some of the victims who were killed in the mass shooting. You can see GoFundMe accounts set up there. The Odessa Chamber of Commerce also has a community account set up. We will link to that on our website, cbs7.com.
One thing we have noticed throughout this and throughout the next few weeks, you're seeing more and more people in this community step forward to help out these families. Again, if you have any questions where you would like to give, we'll put those links up on our website at cbs7.com. But let's get this community together. Let's heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here for this special on the mass shooting and the help that has come through afterward.